y'all. Hey, it's your friend Patty with Giddy Things. I am back for day 203 of our 5-minute in-name only exercise encouragement. How are you? I am doing well. Thank you for asking. I am about to do a little sewing and I will check back in with you in a little bit. So I am going to use these cutie patootie buttons and this embroidery floss on this button placket. Is that what it's called? A placket? I'm not sure. I'm calling it a placket. One button complete. I'm using embroidery thread with this because I wanted not to have to sew a lot of stitches, but I wanted it to be really strong and to look like that on the front. So I am pleased and I'll keep going. I only have 10 more to do. I don't think it's going to take long though, because that one didn't take long. And here they are, the cutie patootie new buttons. All 11 of them, y'all. I'm excited to wear this. I love the way that turned out. I'm back. I finished that, as you can see, as you will have seen in a clip, and I'm really happy with it. I've already got on a nightgown, but this one it's kind of, this is a dressing gown, low-key, and a nightgown, but I'm gonna maybe put this on tomorrow. I'm not sure. We shall see, because it's clean. I don't want to necessarily, just put it on because I put the buttons on it, but I do love it, and it's so comfy. So, what have I done today? Not much other than sew. Well, no, I did, didn't I? I worked. It's myself credit. I did some work. I did some course design, and I plan to do that today because, as I was saying to the disembodied voice, I was doing, my Sunday self was doing my Monday self a favor and getting some things together, and I'm happy about it. We're about to have a group project in my children's lit class, and y'all, typically when I was a student, I did not like doing group projects. I'm getting my hair's wet, getting it kind of fluffed up. I did not like doing group projects at all because typically what happened is one, most of the time, sometimes two people cared about it, and everybody else was like, yeah, they like their grades. They'll do it for us, and that's just how. But it is important in my children's lit class because these are sophomore level students in college who are going to try to be teachers. And they need to learn to work in teams because a lot of teaching, especially since my students, for the most part, want to do K through 8 or K through 12 teaching, a lot of that level of teaching exists in teamwork. When I was teaching middle school, teamwork was everything. That was my first year of teaching. I had incredible mentors. I had an incredible team. It was fantastic. And I will never be able to even estimate how much I learned as a teacher from other teachers. And so it's important for them to start working together now. And a lot of these students will end up staying in this area, so they may work together in the future at schools. Won't that be neat? If they went to college together to be teachers, and then they can continue to go to college together, be teachers, and then teach together. And some of my students are very specific. They know where they want to teach. Kids in this area have a tendency, more than pretty much any area I've ever lived in, to want to stay around home. And why wouldn't they? It's gorgeous here. It's beautiful. The cost of living is affordable. Economically, it can be a little bit on the depressed side, but if you get, that sounds really severe, but it is. But if you train, that's the key is getting skills through training, whether you're going to be a teacher, a plumber, a machinist, a welder, a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse. What else is there? Business people. And if you're going to train for something, there are opportunities in this area. It's just, you have to be prepared. It is not a fantastic area for people who don't have training and need jobs that are sort of entry-level jobs, because there just aren't a lot of them. There are in areas that are bigger and that are more metropolitan, but it's kind of the trade-out for living in a lovely little place like this is, you have to kind of get in somewhere early, or, with a big company, like we have Food City here and Food Lion, and do that and make your career there, or you do need to get some kind of training. And so all of that was to say, my students are going to work in teams, no matter whether they teach or not, probably. So, but teachers for sure. And so it's really important for them to get that teamwork under control now, right? And you're going to work with all kinds of people with all levels of energy and initiative. And so now's a good time probably to get used to that. But I'm really excited about this assignment for them because it was fun to create. It's about Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, which is the book the children's lit class is on right now. And after that, they will be on Winnie the Pooh, the original, and then after that they will be, well, Winnie the Pooh and the Wizard of Oz kind of happen side by side. That is going to be incredible. The book is called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz because it is. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to do, but it was also hard work. And then I am not much of a seamstress, but I'm trying to do better. I would like to make a dress. That's kind of the goal. I don't really ever want to like accomplish necessarily puff sleeves or anything, but I'll tell you the dress I'd like to make. I would like to make one of the kinds of dresses they wore during the 1930s, the day dress, 30s and 40s, that my mama and my grandma would have worn. My grandma and my mama made those sometimes out of flour sacks. My grandma, my daddy's daddy, loved to sew. My daddy's daddy. It could have been. My daddy's mom loved to sew. His mama was a really incredible seamstress. She made quilts, she tatted lace, she did all these incredible things. And I don't know if my mom's mom, I think she sewed a lot out of necessity, but I don't know whether or not she was my grandmother. I don't know whether grandmother liked to sew. My mama didn't. My mom was really good at it, and she needed to sew for us for economic reasons, and we had beautiful things because she sewed for us, but she didn't enjoy it. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I love the result. I love that. It's such a good feeling of accomplishment to look at, like, this pink button and go, I sewed that on there. I replaced the buttons on this, and then I can use it again. The Disembodied Voice and I were talking a lot about make, do, and mend culture. We're very into that. And I am trying to transition my wardrobe into something more capsule-y. So I tend to wear leggings and t-shirts a lot because I have all these cute t-shirts, and I love funny t-shirts. Like when I was at the doctor the other day for my follow-up physical, I had on a shirt that said Meowdy with a cat on it, with a cowboy hat on. I love that kind of stuff. And I have like the cat that's on there with the look on its face where it's like, nope, not today. And then I have cute shirts with like the ramen logo, the marriage ramen logo on the front, and Hello Kitty that you've probably seen if you've watched these videos, and tons of other things. Quotes that I like, kindness comments that I like, the love thy neighbor type stuff. And I love those, and I love just throwing on some leggings and those. But other than that, I really like to wear some things that are kind of true vintage or at least retro. Like the Modern Prairie stuff is retro. But like this, I would say is true vintage. But I mean, it doesn't seem like vintage to me because it was probably 80s or 90s. But that's not vintage to me. But I was a young woman during those times. I was a teenager during the 80s. But that's kind of, I mean, to me, that's not so much vintage as it is more like retro. But the 30s, 40s, 50s-ish, that's kind of my sweet spot for clothes. And so I'm going to try to curate. I'm going to take some time to do it, but I'm going to clean out my clothes. I'm going to use that Marie Kondo method. Have y'all ever done it where you hold it and go, does this spark joy? You don't have to touch it to your face, but you go, does this spark joy? And if it doesn't, you give it away, or you throw it away if it's not fit to give away, or you turn it into rags, right? I don't like the thought of just disposing of something, but sometimes we have to. But at any rate, I'm trying to get to a point where I can curate my wardrobe more as I get more into the zone of sizes that I'll be wearing, because there's a point at which when you're wearing certain styles that are not very fitted, I mean, you can wear those over the course of probably 3 or 4 sizes, and it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, so the moral of that story is, the thesis is, I would like to make a dress that is a very simple construction that is a lot like the flour sack dresses that my mom and my grandma and my grandmother wore back in the day, right? And if you know why they're called flour sack dresses, if you don't, it's because the flour companies, the rice companies, other kinds of companies that sold things, oatmeal, in bags during the Depression especially, but other times earlier than that as well, they made their bags, their sacks, out of fabric that was pretty, or at least, like either masculine, feminine, or just ticking or just a color, but some really pretty patterns. And they cost a fortune now, the true vintage versions of those. But they got, and I'm sure they have reproduction fabric that you can get for those. That's something I need to think about. But they would use the product and then they would use the fabric. How smart to make, and economical to make dresses. There's all kinds of stuff I want to get back into, and shirts and underpants and sheets, but there's all sorts of stuff I want to get back into. I probably won't sew that much, but I'd like to go back to some of the recipes that I grew up with too. And I mean, when I say I mean the person next to me, the disembodied voice, will probably be doing it. But I saw some folks, it's a channel called Survival HT, and they're in South Louisiana. They're Cajun, and they make a lot of their own stuff, and they do all kinds of cool things. And it came up on my feed, and she was making sawmill gravy. And y'all, I haven't thought about sawmill gravy in so long, and we ate it all the time when I was a kid. Do y'all know what sawmill gravy is? I bet some of you do. If you don't, look up a recipe or look up a video. Maybe we'll make one in the future. I don't know. But it's using ground meat or whatever kind of meat you have to make gravy that goes on top of rice or potatoes or whatever else you want to put it on. We typically had it on rice because Louisiana, right? And so we typically had it over rice. When my mom was growing up, my mama's daddy, I didn't know him. He passed away in 1939 and he was born in 1880. So, but I didn't know him. But she could remember, he would go when he was traveling around. And I'll talk more on the podcast that we're working on to talk to you about how this all worked. But it's called Eat You a Banana, Tales from My Family. But he would work around all over the place in the South in the work that he did. And then during the Depression, he had to travel. He could work from home and they could travel with him when it wasn't the Depression. But then they couldn't afford to. And so when they settled in a place, finally in Oil City, Louisiana, and he was traveling around from there, he would go down to South Louisiana where he was from, and his family had a rice plantation. And one of the reasons he would go down there was to work, but also to go by and pick up rice to bring home, like big bags of rice to fix up to bring home. And however he managed to do that, I'd like to look more into finding out about, how folks managed to travel with that stuff. He probably had some kind of little cart, is what I'm guessing, that he carried his stuff in because he had to travel a lot, not in a car, even though sometimes they were able to do things like hitch rides, but these were really the preliminary level of cars in our country, right? So, but that would be interesting too, to trace some of those journeys that men like him made to make money for their families during the Depression. So lots of stuff to think about, lots of stuff to do. I hope that you have done something to make yourself feel special today. I hope that you have got peaceful time planned into every day of the week as you go about your doings, your knittings. My mama used to say, I'm gonna let you get back to your knitting. Right? But I also hope you know how loved you are. My goodness, I love you so much. And I hope you'll continue to go with me in peace and love. I see someone looking at me and I feel him saying, tell people to subscribe and like. Is that what you were thinking?
I was.
We're psychic. Do it. He said, we're psychic. Please do that. And please do go with me in peace and love to serve others and pray for the whole wide world with a special intention for Ukraine.